Well, hello and welcome to episode 74 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. Michaela, it has been hot. It has been sunny. We have a refreshing cocktail coming our way, which is going to help ease the pain of the sunburn that I suffered over the weekend. But how are you? What did you get up to this weekend? Have you been watching anything good? What have you been drinking? What have you been doing? Fill us all in.
Well, gosh, I have been watching a lot of shows, TV series. I'm ramping up for the last season of Ozark. That is happening in like the next week. And so I got to get some other stuff that I've been watching kind of finished up. I finished the season of 1883, which anybody who's a fan of Yellowstone is the prequel to it. It's amazing. Everybody should go see it. It's really great acted, and the scenery is just amazing, and some of the shots are actually really cool. And it's a great daddy-daughter story. So everybody should go see it. What else have I watched recently? We actually saw a new cartoon, the Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Oh, okay.
We saw that. My son
Excellent.
liked it. He keeps calling it Sonic 2 and correcting me. So apparently I don't know what the name of this movie is called, but it's the second Sonic and the Hedgehog film. However it is.
That's right.
And he really liked it. He thought it was fun. I thought it was okay. You know, I think one of the things about kid movies is they have kind of a longer reign in the box office to bring cash in, because lots of people don't want to go to a kids movie necessarily right as it's opening. So it's still raking in some cash, as your lobby bar described, but it'll be interesting to see how it peters off the next couple weeks. It was fun though. I mean, because spring break is over. It's real hot now. Like, it happened overnight. It was freezing 3 days ago, and now it's like 90 degrees.
Yeah. It flipped the switch for sure. Sonic 2 seems like a fun time. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the first one. Maybe I'll see if I can dig up my Sega from the attic and give it a playthrough. Maybe that'd be a fun time for drink the
For
video
sure.
games.
Right.
Side tail there. But yeah, just been hanging out, enjoying the weather, getting the outdoor chores done. So I haven't been watching too much myself, but like I said, and like you said, it has been hot, and luckily today's cocktail is a refreshing one. It's going to be perfect for these hot late spring days. It's going to do us really well into summer. It's easy to put together, and it's from one of our favorite places. So why don't we take a quick break, and we'll be right back to mix up this week's cocktail.
So this week's cocktail comes from one of our favorite places, cinemasips.com. Love this website. If you do nothing else at Drink the Movies, go to this website, because I love reading it. It's beautifully kind of curated. It does combines movies and cocktails in a slightly different way than we do at Drink the Movies, but it is still beautiful and delicious. And this drink is a perfect drink for a hot summer day, or for climbing the corporate ladder as a woman in 1988.
That's right. Or in probably 2022 as well. But
unfortunately, not much has changed. So.
But yeah, this week's cocktail, it is called Lust and Tequila. And if you are familiar with this week's film, Working Girl, you will know that there is some tequila. There is plenty of lust. There's a Valium, but not in this cocktail, so don't worry about that. But this was delicious and perfect for a hot and sunny day. And like Michaela said, CinemaSips is great. Go check that out, cinemasips.com. And while you're on there perusing that, make sure you go and leave us a 5-star review. That would be great too. But go check that out, and then come back, and we're going to throw this cocktail together. So Michaela, you mixed this up for us yesterday. So why don't you run through the ingredients and how you put this thing together?
Sure. It's going to be 1.5 ounces of silver tequila, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, 4 ounces of Mighty Swell Peach sparkling cocktail. So this is a seltzer that I had seen but never had before. So that was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And then mineral water from Topo Chico, and then a twist of lime.
Yeah.
And so what you're going to do is you can build this as a short or a tall. We put it in a tall glass, and we filled it with ice, and then kind of built the cocktail from there. So you don't need to shake anything, which makes sense because it's a lot of carbonation. That would not probably go well shaking. So don't shake it. So It depends on
Correct.
how much, and you can play with the flavors. It depends on how much kind of tanginess you want from the lime. But you garnish it with a lime twist and then you drink it down. And I have to say, for a tequila drink, this is really delicious.
Yeah, it was super refreshing, and yeah, this was my first time having that Mighty Swell peach sparkling cocktail as well. I believe on the Cinema Sips says you could also use peach soda, but we found the Mighty Swell, and it has like a 5% alcohol to it. This was really good. It was really refreshing. I will say, I think that the tequila was kind of hidden in it. We made it with the silver tequila. Basically, all you could taste was, at least to me, was you could definitely taste that peach kind of seltzer, and it was super effervescent. That Topo Chico is kind of famous for how like highly carbonated it is.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of like the mineral bite from the mineral water. But it was really good. It was really refreshing. It would have been perfect like if you were working outside or just hanging out outside in the summer, poolside, something like that. And this is super easy to put together and jazz up. And you could definitely swap out that peach sparkling cocktail for like any of the other flavors. So the one we got, I think, came with like watermelon and like a black raspberry or something. So you could definitely play around with that. And I think that you actually tried then replacing the silver tequila with a reposado. Did you notice any big difference with
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Or
Yeah. I think the reposado made it a lot more tequila flavored. Does that make sense? Because
tequila y?
yeah, yeah. And if you like that, if you like the flavor of tequila, I
Mm-hmm.
recommend doing this with reposado instead of silver because I think you nailed it when you said that the tequila is kind of hidden in it. If tequila is not your thing, then maybe you'd prefer it with the silver because even if you double the or add extra alcohol to this drink to make it more potent, you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to taste it as much if you use silver tequila. But if you use reposado, you're definitely going to get all that flavor, that richness of the tequila in that flavor profile. So,
Yeah. And I would guess that you could probably kind of play around with this if tequila is not your jam or you didn't have that. You could probably use any kind of clear white neutral ish kind of spirit. So you could swap the tequila out for like vodka or probably like a white rum, and play around with those kind of flavor combinations and still get something very delicious and very refreshing, very kind of summery, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is really tasty. We found some really nice tequila drinks in the last month or so, which is
Mhm.
weird because usually I'm not a tequila person. I don't mind it, but it's not my favorite. And lately, we've been really impressed. This is really tasty. So if you're just on the fence about whether or not you would like it, you should go give it a shot. It's easy to make and it is super refreshing on a hot day. And can I just say that if you're going to if you want the peach Mighty Swell, you have to buy it in like a party pack. And so even if you're not a seltzer person, the seltzer is actually pretty good, I will say,
Mhm.
by itself. So give it a shot. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I am not a sparkling seltzer person, and I thought that this was pretty good. So, yeah, if you see it, pick some up and make these up. It is easy, it is delicious, and it is refreshing. So, with that in mind, Michaela, we better take a quick break because we have a lot of work to do if we want to get ahead in the big city, just like Tess. So, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Working Girl.
Spoiler warning for Working Girl. If you've not yet seen this 1988 classic that was up for like a million Oscars, then
Mm-hmm.
you should press pause. You should go watch it. It's available now through Stars, the Stars channel on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And you can come back afterwards with a wonderful Lust and Tequila cocktail, and we can chat about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is available on Stars, as Michaela mentioned, which is a subscription service that I always forget that I have until we need to watch one of these movies, and it happens to be on there, and I remember that I do in fact have it. So go get it. Maybe you have it too. But this one came out in 1988. It was directed by Mike Nichols, and it stars Melanie Griffith as our leading actress, businesswoman, business mind.
Our leading
Tess,
working girl.
our leading working girl, Tess. Stars Harrison Ford as Jack and Sigourney Weaver as the boss turned antagonist, Catherine. And there was a lot of other people that were in this that were like up and comers in the late 80s, like people that were just like on the verge of really breaking out. So, I mean, you have Sigourney Weaver, who is, huge at this time. You have Harrison Ford, who is huge, actually gets top billing on the cast here, coming off of Star Wars and Blade Runner and a couple Indiana Jones films, I guess, gets you top billing for this movie. And then Melanie Griffith. But like you said, Michaela, this was nominated for a lot of Academy Awards, 6 Academy Awards, if you can believe it. It is true. And it won one of those 6. Carly Simon won for the best song, Let the River Run. They're very proud of that. When you first turn on the movie, it pops up and says that the music is by Carly Simon. So just a FYI, what you're getting involved with here. But it didn't win a couple of these others. So it lost Best Picture, Best Leading Actress, 2 Best Supporting Actress for Sigourney Weaver and Joan Cusack, and Best Director for Mike Nichols. So six Academy Awards for Working Girls. I will tell you that when I watched this yesterday or over the weekend for the first time, I would not have picked 6 Academy Awards to be nominated for this movie, but 6, pretty good. 1989 Academy Awards.
Yeah. No, it definitely, I remember it being really big when it came out, and I watched it later, obviously, because I was 7 when this film was being made, but it isn't, I don't know, it's shocking in some ways, but not in others. And we'll dig into it. But best song, definitely I loved Carly Simon. She was my favorite singer-songwriter from about birth to about, I don't know, 15. So
okay.
I was so glad to see that she co-wrote, I think, some of the score as well. And this is the very first soundtrack I ever listened to all the way through. And the soundtrack is amazing. It's hard to find a full soundtrack. I think if you look it up like on Apple Music, you'll be able to listen to like half of it. But it is actually really beautifully done, and I love the score. So congratulations to them and to Carly Simon for winning best song. It is definitely a female powerhouse anthem even today.
Yeah, that's right. And it kind of reminds me, like you said, it's this Carly Simon kind of score / soundtrack kind of thing. And Mike Nichols, who directed this thing, also had directed The Graduate, so similar there with Simon and Garfunkel basically doing, the soundtrack / album. And that soundtrack, I think, was like the number 1 on like the pop charts for like 3 years in a row or something like stupid crazy like that. So I guess Mike Nichols had kind of a taste for what he liked to do with these things, and putting them together and putting the soundtrack together. But let's get this movie started off. So you get a really cool shot panning around the Statue of Liberty, and then it kind of does this really neat fly-in to this boat. It's the Staten Island Ferry, I believe. It kind of pulls right up next to it, which is actually a shot you see a lot of now because they can do it with computers, where it's kind of zooming in and pulling right alongside. But I'm assuming they would have had to have been doing this with like a helicopter or something to get this footage. And it looks pretty great. And we are introduced to Tess, who is played by Melanie Griffith, and she is on her way to work in the Big Apple.
That's right. It is her 30th birthday. And her best friend, Sin, played by the absolutely hilarious and wonderful Joan Cusack. Joan Cusack has like a ding dong with 3 candles and is singing her happy birthday on this boat on the way to Manhattan. And just so everyone knows, this is like a big deal. If you've never been or don't know, a lot of people work in Manhattan, but not a lot of people can live in Manhattan because number 1, it's really expensive. And number 2, there's not a lot of space. So there's a lot of ferries that either go over from New Jersey or Staten Island or elsewhere. So to kind of in the morning, there's this huge rush of folks that are kind of entering that bottom half of that New York kind of peninsula island looking thing. And so I love this opening scene because it not only does it show that beautiful panning, it shows, the iconic New York skyline. Prior to September 11th, you see these really beautiful shots of the World Trade Center. As many of us who were around and alive before then will remember it. And you see a throng of women. There's like hundreds and hundreds of women walking through into these buildings, and they're all in tennis shoes.
Hmm.
And it's one of the things Mike Nichols talks about it in one of his interviews where he got the idea. The idea around this film was when Mike went to New York and saw all these women kind of walking to their offices in tennis shoes and then changing into dressier shoes because they have to commute, and it's miles and miles of steps that you end up taking, and in heels, which is what we were pressured to wear, and maybe some could argue still are pressured to wear to be quote unquote appropriate for the workforce.
Hmm.
It's really hard to do that in 3-inch heels. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Those city blocks get awfully long as you're going into New York City, for sure. But yeah, it kind of gets us set up. So Tessa's like the secretary receptionist kind of thing at what appears to be some kind of like stock trading kind of company, and she's just getting kind of put upon by her boss. She's entertaining. I don't even know what he was supposed to have been. It was Kevin Spacey acting very Kevin Spacey-ish, I guess, in this limo. So I don't know if he was,
who knew that he was basically calling upon his his inner jerk to be able to do this role.
Yeah. He's some sort of like associate or something. Very, very harassing to her, very demeaning to her, her bosses. And she eventually, just kind of has enough. And one of the funnier moments I thought is that she updates like this little stock ticker. You see her like typing it in or on her, Stone Age computer set up there, but she basically puts in that her boss or whatever is like a jerk and a pimp and is the worst, and she gets fired. Not great. Gets sent back to the
temp pool.
The temp pool, like the temp
That's
agency, and it's like, oh, okay, Tess, quit clowning around. This is not the first time. You need to be serious. You need to start acting appropriately, and you need to do a good job. And Tess is going to do that.
She is. Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite scenes. And it's only a few minutes long, and it's got Olympia Dukakis in it. And she kind of plays this caseworker for the temp agency. And she's, you learn, Tess is played by Melanie Griffith. She's really pretty. But this is something that I think that it really speaks to like the time and the age. There are all these little vignette scenes where you can see kind of the statement it's making around women in the workforce. And so Olympia Dukakis's character is telling her, I've had to place you in 3 other places. You keep getting pushed around by these guys, but you've got to make it work. If you want to do a real job, you're going to have to make it work. Now, Tess comes from humble beginnings. She didn't go to an Ivy League school. She got her degree doing night school, and she is a firecracker. She really is very smart. And even Turkle and Lusk, who are played by, I can't remember the other dude's name, but Oliver Platt plays one of them. And, really good at looking like a jerk. And so, but she's very smart. So she gets in and she's a fast learner. And so she knows that she can do great things. She gets placed on her final placement from the secretarial pool to a company called Penny Marsh. I don't know if that's a real company or not, but it sounded really great when I was watching this at 10 years old. And she's stuck in this spot where it's a mergers and acquisitions group that she's supporting. And her boss is a woman by the name of Catherine Parker, played by the amazing Sigourney Weaver. And that's Catherine has the distinction of being the first woman that Tess has ever worked for, as well as slightly younger, because they both have a birthday that's like a week and a half apart. And that's kind of how they bond at first.
That's right. Yeah. You think, so when she goes to start working for Catherine, you think that Catherine is going to be this ally. She's very, kind of girl powered, and they can do anything and tackle all of this. Another thing that I thought was pretty awesome is that Catherine has this gigantic workout machine in her office. It's like it's like a giant like Bowflex machines. I don't even know if that was a thing, but it was there in her office. She's pretty great, but yeah, you think she's going to be like an ally, like a confidant kind of thing. And, Tess thinks that too. And Tess has really good ideas. She is working at this mergers and acquisitions. She has this really great plan. She goes and presents it to Catherine, and Catherine's like, yeah, that's totally great. We should totally do that. Send me over all of your information on it. We can do that. But, Catherine, How do you get ahead? And it's by stepping on Tess, and that's what Catherine has planned.
Yeah. So Catherine, is uh fast friends. I guess Tess really feels like they have this bonded relationship, and Catherine goes on a ski trip. She lets Tess know that, hey, I'm going to meet this guy that I've been dating a while, and I think we're going to get engaged on the ski trip. But we don't hear much more about that until Catherine calls Tess and says, yeah, I broke my leg skiing and I can't be moved for a couple of weeks. So can you go into my go into my house and like water my plants and do my dry cleaning? And today you'd probably be offended if if you were an administrative assistant and your boss asked you to do that, but not Tess. She's like, oh no, that's fine, Catherine. I don't mind doing that at all. And so she goes into her house, and it's one of my favorite scenes because you see just how much money this woman has. Now, she comes from money. She went to Wellesley, right? You can tell,
which sounds expensive.
It sounds like it's $150,000 a year. Yeah. And so yeah, there's this amazing bike Bowflex thing that's in Catherine's office in her house, and Tess is listening to her dictation because she wants to talk more like Catherine, because Catherine's very prim and proper and like very smooth and knows how to talk to everybody. And Tess McGill is really envious of that. And so she's trying to listen just to, kind of emulate the way and cadence and way Catherine talks. And she overhears, Catherine has this plan to kind of take Tess's idea of this merger and run with it and pretend it's hers. And Tess is really devastated by this because Catherine had been telling her that, she can make it happen and we can do anything and we have trust, and, I'm your mentor and learn from me, and, I'm going to get you where you want to be, kid. And it was all a lie.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, it's funny because she does go skiing. She breaks her leg. I think in the 80s, every movie was required to have someone skiing, and one of the things, I think that was
a thing when you're rich in the
yeah, when you're rich, yeah, you had to go skiing. My favorite part about her house, it showed off like how much money is. Tess goes through the front door and there are like 4 like Andy Warhol like screen images of Tess like hanging on the wall,
of Catherine's face. I mean,
of Catherine's face. Yeah, not of Tess.
She's so narcissistic, but she also has so much money. You're like, how is that even? That must have been.
That is exactly how it works. It takes a level of narcissism to go skiing and have Andy Warhol printings of yourself. But yeah, so Tess hears all this stuff. She is devastated, like you said, but she's there. She's learning. Tess wants to emulate Catherine. And that's what's going to have to happen because Tess is having this terrible day. She finds out this news. She goes home. Her long-term boyfriend, I guess we should assume that he is he's in bed with another woman, and her boyfriend by the name of McDuggan is played by a young Alec Baldwin. So some more stars coming in there. And they he doesn't act like it's a big deal at all. He's like nothing's happening. Well, something's happening, but it doesn't mean anything.
I mean, it's the worst. It's very much like, what are you gonna do? Believe me or your own eyes? Like, the girl is right there. And he's like, I mean, this is not what it looks like. It's really funny, but it's also super devastating. I mean, Tess McGill doesn't even say anything other than you're a snake, and kind of leaves because she's so devastated. And what a rough day for Tess.
Yeah, so it is a bad day, but Tess takes all this stuff in stride, right? She leaves Catherine's house. She leaves her apartment or boyfriend's apartment. I don't even know who's living there, but where the bad stuff was happening. She leaves, but she kind of has this idea now in the back of her head. She knows Catherine's going to be out of the picture. She's laid up in the hospital with her broken leg. Maybe that's going to give her the opportunity to go and really sort of pitch herself to the higher ups at this place where she wants this acquisition to go through, where she has these big plans for, and she wants to be taken seriously. And what do you need? What do you need? If you want to be taken seriously, you need serious hair to be taken seriously.
That's right. Now, this is 1988. This was the days of like Def Leopard and a really
Yeah.
big hair. Like the bigger you can make your bangs. I mean, Joan Cusack, oh, she's so brilliant as Tess's best friend Sin. But she has the biggest hair of this entire thing, right? And she's got multi like tri-colored eyeshadow, and it's golds and like rich burnt sienna colors on your eyeballs. It's so prolific of that time, right? And one of my favorite scenes is they're raiding Catherine's closet, right? Because Tess is going to go to this dinner or this party and try and track down this the guy that Catherine was trying to contact in order to do this deal and totally take Tess's idea. So she's going to steal it back, right? And so they're in the closet and she's looking at stuff and she finds this dress and she's ready to put it on. And Joan Cusack's character looks at it and it's like $6,000. It's not even leather. And just so you know, Brian, I did some research. That dress was $6,000. That is $15,645 in today's money.
Okay.
So it was a dress that was $15,000 worth of money.
So something you wear going out, not like an everyday dress. Then
right,
that's like a special occasion.
That's
dress.
a special. Yeah, well, I sure as hell hope so. But it just gives you an idea of kind of the have versus the have-nots, right? So Tess isn't poor by any sense, right? You don't feel like she's wanting for anything, but she just lives in a different world, right? So her and her then boyfriend, he's trying to get a loan so that he can work the shipyard on his own boat. She is, they're walking miles to their grocery store so they don't have to spend money on cab fare. I mean, and this is a $6,000 dress that it's still got the tags on it and it's in a closet full of clothes. So you definitely see that. But Tess gives up her amazing Def Leppard, I don't know, poison big hair band look for something that is a little bit more attractive. It's she kind of cuts it and it's like an above the chin kind of coif. But she ends up looking really good when she walks into this bar. And of course she is noticed by a lot of people, one of which is Jack Trainer, played by the amazing Harrison Ford.
That's right. Yes. So she meets Jack Trainer, but there is I don't know if it's a case of mistaken identity, but it's a case of she doesn't know that Jack Trainer is Jack Trainer. She doesn't know that this very attractive Harrison Ford that she's just met is supposed to be the guy that she's supposed to be doing this kind of business deal with. So they hit it off. They have some tequila, and Tess might have been a little nervous going into this. So what does a good friend do? She finds your boss's Valium and decides to give you one of those, so you could calm down. So couple that decision, with a couple of shots of tequila, and you're not going to be long for the night if that's the case.
No. And poor, later Sin does say, she's like, yeah, should have checked the milligrams. Live and learn.
Might have misread that. Yeah.
But she does say, she's like, it just chills you ever so slightly. You won't even notice it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not true. Okay. Don't take Valium and alcohol. That's against the ruls. All right. It's not advisable under a doctor. Don't do that. Now, luckily, Jack Trainer is not a jerk, right? There's a lot of other people in this, a lot of other men who have toxic masculinity issues in this movie. Jack Trainer's not really one of them, and certainly not for 1988. Okay. So, he does get her into a cab. She asks him to get her into a cab. He goes in. She's like 3 sheets to the wind. She can't remember her address. He takes her to his house. He carries her up flights of stairs while she's passed out. And he leaves her alone for the most part. He leaves her alone. He thinks you can tell he's attracted to her, but she wakes up the next morning. She doesn't know if she's been left alone, which is scary and sad. But in this show, they kind of make light of it and make it kind of funny. So she's embarrassed because she's like, oh gosh, maybe I slept with this guy. I don't remember. But she leaves his house, not knowing that she actually has a meeting with him in about 4 hours to talk about this deal, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, so the case of mistaken identity or not given the identity has been solved. It turns out that they were supposed to have been meeting each other all along, which is, I guess, kind of slightly awkward. But they she presents the plan, and he says, "Yeah, okay, that's a pretty good plan." But about this time, Catherine is, she's gonna turn back up. She's like a bad penny every time Tess thinks she's going to start getting ahead. Catherine is there to kind of rain on that parade. Tess goes to see Catherine, and she's like laying in bed, just randomly in some lingerie. She's getting ready for like a business meeting. I thought that was kind of odd and interesting. I guess I don't know.
Well, no, she was getting ready to see.
I was like, who just hangs? She was just laying in bed, like in her
waiting
lingerie.
For Jack to show up.
I understand what she was doing, but I was like, okay, well, that's a statement to make, I guess. Catherine, but yeah, she's trying to keep Tess like on this leash, right? She knows that Tess probably knows she was trying to get one over on her. She knows that Tess is, kind of working these deals behind her back while she's been laid up with her broken leg. And she needs to try to kind of squash this. But, Jack, to his credit, he's on board with Tess now. He knows that this is Tess's idea. He sees the brilliant mind that she has for this business deal. And he's not buying into what Catherine's selling, I don't think.
No. It's really interesting because there's this middle part of the movie where, Tess and Jack kind of do this dance because Jack was under a lot of pressure to succeed. He's really worried about getting fired, which speaks to the fear in the late 80s, right, around what was going on, especially in New York. So, Tess is kind of trusting him. He is kind of letting her run with this merger. There's this great scene where they go to a wedding. What better way to go and talk to a CEO of a company about merging and acquiring a radio station, right? What better way than to like basically bombard him with information on the dance floor of his daughter's wedding. It doesn't sound like a good idea when I say it out loud, but Brian,
you just crash the wedding. You just crash the wedding.
That's right.
And do it. It's one of those things that only works in movies, and it happened to work in this movie.
Right. Yeah. Where he totally buys into it. And, Harrison Ford really realizes how special Tess is and how driven she is. And so, yeah, by the end of this, when Catherine uncovers to everybody in this deal that Tess is only my secretary, and
dun dun dun.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford is kind of doesn't care. He's like, it's her idea. She worked really hard on this, and we shouldn't proceed without her. And Catherine, bye, right? Because apparently Catherine and Jack had been together, and Catherine was thinking that they were going to get married, and he was thinking that they were going to break up. So it just speaks to the narcissism that Catherine has about how everybody thinks she's amazing and loves her. And
yeah, and she totally kind of gaslights Tess throughout this thing, right? She tells Tess, "Oh, I gave him your idea, and they said it was terrible. So,
right,
get out of here." So, but yeah, so like I said, Jack kind of sees through it. The president of this media company or whatever, whoever she's trying to sell it to, she's kind of buying into it, and they basically set up a time for her to come in and give this pitch. Catherine's going to make one last attempt. She magically has recovered from her broken leg just in time to show up, kind of to like the forefront of this meeting. But Tess and Jack get in there to do the meeting. They're blown away by kind of this package that she puts together, the idea that she's come up with. And at the end of the day, Tess gets a new job. Right. She's not going to be a secretary anymore.
That's right. And it's the best. I love this scene so much. When she goes and she's going to go work for Orrin Trask, who's the CEO that she bombarded him at his wedding, or his kid's wedding. She goes in and she thinks that she's going to sit out in the secretarial pool area of the building. And the woman who actually is her admin assistant says, "No, that's me. That's where I sit. I was just using your phone. This is your office." And she goes in and she sees that it's a really nice office. It's got a window. It's not a box. And it's just a really beautiful moment where Tess feels like she's made it. And of course, who does she call first? She calls her best friend Sin, and lets her know where she is and what's happened. And Sin, of course, does what real women who lift each other up in business do. She jumps up from the secretarial pool and she starts screaming to all of the secretarial pool coworkers that Tess made it. She got out of the pool. She's got a real job, and she's really going to go somewhere, and really amazing. And that's kind of how it ends. Of course, you know, there's this really great sweeping shot again that Mike Nichols put together, where it's looking at Tess from outside the building in through her window as she's on the phone, and it kind of pans out, and you see the rest of Manhattan Island as it pans further and further out. And I don't know how they did this so smoothly, because it was before CGI, and it looks so beautiful.
And you can see like the individual like people like in their offices and stuff as it's pulling back. Yeah, it's crazy looking. I don't know how they did it. If it was like a two-shot composite kind of a thing that they did. Yeah. I don't know how they did it, but yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks real great. And you know, she ends up getting both, right? She's with Jack Trainer. They're an item now, and and he's fully supportive. And my favorite scene in this whole film is right when she's starting her first day, and they're kind of together in the kitchen trying to like eat breakfast and grab coffee, and they both, you know, they're just newly in love, so they don't know each other super well, but they know each other enough to kind of figure out the routine of the day, which I think is really beautiful and romantic, because that's who I am. And one of the things he does is he presents her with like a little lunch pail, and it's got her insignia on it, and he's got like lunch money and an apple for the teacher, and he's just really sweet, and it's like, play with the other kids nicely and be home before dark. And it's just a really sweet way where she feels that she's fully supported, versus Mick, who's played by Alec Baldwin, who was her boyfriend at the beginning of the film. He was kind of like, yeah, it's great that, you want to move, but, I got to get my boat loan, and I'm the man, and you're not Grace Kelly, and who are you? And
yeah,
he's kind of
there's a kind of a defining scene for the times, and kind of how I guess girls like Tess would have been expected to act, especially like in the late 80s. They're at like a bar or a party or something, and they're there, and it's like the day after she had walked in on Mick cheating on her, and he proposes to her like nothing had happened. And then like all of the people at this party, women included, I think Sin included, were like, what do you mean you said no? Why would you say no? And she's like, are you kidding me?
She didn't even say no. She said maybe. Right? I mean, that's the thing. And of course, Alec Baldwin's character, he's like on his knee, and he looks up at her, and he's like, seriously, that's the answer? And I love it. She's like, you want another answer? Ask another girl. And so they get in this big fight, and she feels bad because she's not willing to like sign up for the rest of her life to this dude who clearly he cheated on her. And then there's other things happening, right? Like when she turned 30, he got her underwear, which newsflash. Okay. We know how to buy our own underwear. If there's something you're interested in, then that's one thing. If you're like, hey, I'd love it if you wore this, cool. But to give that to someone on their birthday, when I don't know, it definitely spoke to what was important to him versus what was important to her. And so, yeah, very much so. Alec Baldwin played a really great kind of Neanderthalic toxic masculinity,
a very smarmy character. Yeah. But yeah, this movie, it's a really good kind of examination, and it's into toxic masculinity, and masculinity in the workplace and that sort of thing. And I mean, you even, like I said, you even see it like within her, her girlfriends, her girl boss, who, like I said, kind of at the offset you think is going to be an ally and a confidant and a helper, and how those relationships really work. So I think that this was probably pretty, I don't know if I'd want to say groundbreaking, but for the time that it was made in, it was probably kind of a trickier story to tell. if you watch into something like American Psycho, which kind of dives into like this late 80s mindset, it really, kind of goes into more of, what like these societal structures were like as people were just making like insane amounts of money, as Catherine was, and kind of, what you need to do to get on the top and stay on the top. So
Right.
I think it's a really kind of interesting time period, but yeah, that's Working Girl. So Michaela, you mentioned that you would have been like 7 when this came out. Did you see it about the time that it came out, or what was
No,
your introduction? I know that this is one of your favorite movies, and you've seen it 10,000. You watched it twice in the last 2 days to get
yes.
ready to talk about it again. So you've seen it a bunch of times. But
Yeah.
when did you get started on Working Girl, Michaela?
So I remember seeing it when let's see, I'm looking at a calendar. I remember seeing it when I moved.
Michaela is looking at her day planner when she writes down all the movies she's
All
seen
the movies
since,
that I saw
childhood.
starting from the age of 8. So no, I was probably 11 or 12 when I really got into when I saw Working Girl for the first time. I remember, back in the late 80s, early 90s, there were like ledgers. My dad owned a insurance business when he was up in Montana, and we moved to Texas when I was 6. So as part of that, he had envelopes, and he had like invoices that were in triplicate. They had kind of that carbon paper stuff, and he still had all of this kind of stationary work stuff from when he owned his business. And so he wasn't going to use that anymore because he didn't have the business. So he gave it to me, and I would play with it. And I remember writing myself checks for thousands of dollars, and I would sign them Tess McGill.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Tess McGill was like my hero when I was like 12, 13. I thought that it was so cool to be able to go to a place such as New York City, whether you were wearing tennis shoes or not, and kind of sock it to society, and, learn about how women bosses can go one of two ways, right? They can be really empowering and really great, or they can be like this Catherine Parker chick. So I've been watching this film and loving it probably 27 years now, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's hard to believe that it's that old. But it is.
That's right. Yeah, it is that old. So I had never seen this until just a couple of days ago, and watched it here for the podcast. And yeah, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised with it. It's interesting that I never would have seen this kind of growing up, because by the time you got to 1990, 91, that was a key time of movie rentals, and we rented a lot of movies. So I'm surprised that this kind of never crossed my path, or maybe it did, and I just don't remember it. I guess there is some nudity in it, so maybe I would have been sheltered away from my my young childlike innocence, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I watched it just a couple of days ago, and yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I do think it's kind of interesting that this is a tale about Tess kind of empowering herself and overcoming, and Melanie Griffith gets third billing on the title card for this. We mentioned Harrison Ford gets top billing, Sigourney Weaver after him, because Melanie Griffith, I guess, was kind of an unknown. So I think that probably the studio looked at it and said, well, it's a movie about empowering Melanie Griffith, but Melanie Griffith might not have the star power to bring this in. And this movie did really well. It made I think over $100 million, which is pretty good for kind of this workplace drama kind of thing. So that is Working Girl. So let us know if you have been watching Working Girl for a long time, like 27 years worth of times like Michaela, or if you've never watched it and are new to it like me. Let us know all that. Let us know if you think it got snubbed on any of the 5 Academy Awards that didn't win. Let us know if you love Carly Simon. We want to know all that. Let us know if you drink a Lust and Tequila, what kind of tequila you used. If you have another favorite Cinema Sips recipe, let us know, because we're definitely down for hearing that and seeing pictures of your cocktails. And you can do that. You can tag us on all that stuff on our Instagram and Twitter. It's at Drink the Movies, and on Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see pictures of the cocktails we put together, including some screen grabs that Michaela sent me of a shirtless Harrison Ford this morning, which was very jarring to get, I will say.
We need to talk about that. We do need to talk about this. So you all, readers, listeners, listen up. So we're watching this film, and I get a text from Brian, and he's like, Harrison Ford is 46 years old. Time has no meaning anymore.
Yeah,
And
true.
I swear I thought you meant that the Jack Trainor's character is 46 years old. And I was like, well, that's really creepy because as we all know, Tess McGill turns 30 in this film. So there's a 16 years age difference if that is the truth. Okay. Then I go and look because there's a scene where you can go and where it's showing how Tess McGill goes and finds Jack Trainor in this Apple II database that's with a dot matrix printer. Okay. And in the movie, he's only 40. But Harrison Ford is 46 in this film. And there is a moment where it's not just female nudity that we see, that Harrison Ford has been working all night. He's talking to Tess on the phone and he is in his own office and he changes into a new shirt. And everyone outside the office is looking in on him changing into a new shirt. But he does look very good. I will say he's a very good looking 46-year-old person.
Yeah, that's right. He had his Indiana Jones workouts going on. So looking pretty good. When I turn 46, I will not look like that, guaranteed. But yeah, so let us know what you think about Harrison Ford being 46. Do us a favor and go check out all those social media things. And Michaela, if they want to get subscribed to the podcast to get this quality Harrison Ford content, where should they go to that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere where Anchor podcasts are distributed. We'd really love it if you subscribed because we do 2 drops a week. I think they're a lot of fun. You get more Drink the Movies content. Leave us a 5-star review if you're loving it. Tell a friend. That we've been a little overwhelmed with how much attention we've been getting the last few weeks, but we love it. We want to spread the Drink the Movies love. So help us do that. Thank you so much.
That's right. We appreciate that. And now, Michaela, we've had a Lust and Tequila, but it is still going to be blazing hot here in North and South Carolina this week. So I think we better go mix up another one of these, take a rest, and come back next week to talk about another movie. So we will talk to everyone next time on
Drink the Movies. Let the river run.
Carly Simon.
The original female in power of the 1970s.